What's up? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Can you guys see me, hear me on Instagram and YouTube? Always have to check. Cool. Pulling up my charts here. We'll start diving into it. I will also allow for a little bit of Q&A if we have some time this morning. Turn on another light here. All right. How's everybody doing? Did everybody have a good weekend? Some time away from the charts for a bit. Had a little mini vacation myself this weekend. Went down south, hang out with some friends. Now we're back. Crazy weekend. Not altogether surprising, but also still somehow a bit surprising with the U.S. direct involvement in Iran now. Market gapped down yesterday on the open, but did not sustain lower for very long. So pretty interesting. I was actually surprised. I thought we would be trading a lot lower, a lot faster on that news. Throw up my screen here. All right, are you guys able to see my screen on YouTube? Good morning, good morning. All right, cool. All right, so we'll jump into it here. Give people a couple minutes to join, but for those of you on Instagram, I'm also on YouTube. The link is in my story, and I'm sharing my screen there, so I can talk through my analysis a bit better. So if you want to join on there, the link to my YouTube is on my bio on Instagram and also in my story on Instagram. Good morning, Matt. Everybody hit the like. Yeah, please do. That helps me out, helps this engagement reach more people, so more people join in. Thank you very much. But we'll start jumping into the analysis here in a minute. Does anybody have any questions that you would like me to cover before we start jumping into the analysis? Good morning, Richard. Welcome, welcome. Thanks, everyone, for joining in. I'll do a quick minute to see if anybody has any questions, but I'll circle back at the end once we go through kind of the analysis. There's not too much new to cover. If you tuned into the live streams I did last week and the week before, really a lot of the same / similar analysis that we have going on here. Markets have been pretty boring the last few weeks, in my opinion. Just kind of stuck in the same range. But I've been able to squeeze some profits out. Nothing major, nothing huge, but just continuing to grind and see. It's just, I guess, the high of the crazy volatility that came in earlier this year when we were trading hundreds of points in a day, and then we've gone back to just grinding higher slowly, but really significantly smaller ranges, but still opportunities, still good opportunities. All right, guys, I don't see any questions in the chat yet. which is fine. It's Monday and we're just starting the analysis. So we'll go into it and then I'll circle back at the end. But what I always do is I start out at the higher time frames. You guys know this if you've tuned into my live streams before. I kind of just like to develop an overall picture of what's going on in the market. I trade based on order flow and price action at much lower time frame confirmations intraday, but I always like to keep kind of a big picture in mind of where the market's at, where it could possibly go, and then work my way lower. Do I avoid trades around VWAP? No, not necessarily. I don't take trades specifically off VWAP, but sometimes I'll keep it in mind as like a target area, especially if there's a volume pattern around it that I like to see. And sometimes I could take trades that break above VWAP, but again, it's not really, my analysis and confirmations are not based on VWAP. It's just kind of a coincidence that it's there, but I do keep it up on Bookmap. I have VWAP up, but it's not a significant piece of my analysis. Good question, though. All right. So looking at the weekly chart here, we can see that we are still in this channel, moving up, just grinding higher in this channel. We did briefly dip under it on the news and the gap down last night, but we pretty quickly and immediately recaptured back up into the middle of this channel. I call it a channel. It's a little bit of a channel, a little bit of a wedge here, but this is what that I've been talking about this for weeks now, pretty much since this developed after these first 3 weeks. We were uptrending, and then after this really strong uptrend V-shaped bounce, we went into this channel and just kind of grinding higher sideways here. So every time we get near the highs or the lows of this, I start watching to see if we're going to reject back towards the middle of it, because it's continued to work for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, going on 6 weeks now. So that's the main thing that I'm watching from the weekly time frame. Again, we've really struggled to push much higher here at this under this prior all-time highs, where we kind of triple topped. Some volatility just came in, some larger orders just caught my attention on Bookmap here. Not sure if some news just came out. I know we do have some news coming out at 9:45. And really, we're kind of at a time where news could come out and significantly affect the market at pretty much any minute with what's going on geopolitically wise with Iran and US. So definitely want to be very cautious today, and just be on alert. If some crazy stuff starts happening, to just be aware that that is in the air right now. And so, all right. Yeah, so really looking at the weekly time frame, we had this kind of all-time high consolidation and rejection down, on the tariff news, but still it's a rally-based drop structure from a technical pattern perspective, and we've really struggled to break back into there. We've been kind of grinding higher, but you can clearly see on the weekly time frame just all the wicks at these highs, just grinding higher, but also rejecting lower each time. But we continue to make higher highs or higher lows as we've moved up here, and so that's why we have this channel wedge that I'm watching. All right, so dropping down now into the four. I'm just going to drop. Well, no, I'll go through the daily. We can still see the same pattern here, and you can see. I think the adjust for contract changes is weird slightly on this time frame, but here's the channel. We can see this news drop to the lows of it and bounced. And then another key level that I just marked this morning that I'm watching for here is this double bottom that we have seen here on the daily time frame. It's also prominent on 6-hour, 4-hour time frames. But during this uptrend channel, I guess you could say wedge, where we've kind of been grinding higher. We did form this pretty clean double bottom here. Not that I'm watching for that to test and bounce. I would, if bulls remain strong, I would rather see them hold above that. If we come down and break below that, that's going to be kind of bearish for me. But you can clearly see we had kind of a basing structure here on the daily time frame, and then we rallied out of that. We pulled back into it, held it, and bounced aggressively. The second time we pulled into this, look how aggressive of a bounce this was. We hit this level down here, right here, formed this double bottom. Actually, I guess it's almost a triple bottom here, 1, 2, 3 times. Hit that almost to the tick, and left this large lower wick on that day that it was tested. And then the next day, pretty strong day, closed all the way at the high of that channel. But then again, we took out those highs right at the top of that channel and rejected right back in. But very important level for me here, right around 59, 51, 52-ish area. And it also coincides right near the low of that channel on the weekly and daily timeframes that I've been talking about. So dropping down to the 4-hour time frame here. Let me adjust the view here a little bit. Again, just pause really quick for those of you on Instagram. If you join in on the live on YouTube, I'm sharing my screens there, so you'll be able to see what I'm talking about in real time. I try to call out the levels, so if you guys are just listening in on Instagram, you can hear what I'm talking about as well. But so looking at the 4-hour time frame here, again, we had this pretty, actually less significant than I thought we would see gap down. That took out the prior day lows, and that's about it. It didn't even get down to this double bottom and this channel trend line low. We took out this prior day low here. Right, I think I have this marked on my other drawing set, but right around 59.69, and immediately have recaptured above that and traded all the way back into the middle of this range. And so the other thing that I want to talk about now, looking at the 4-hour here, is pretty much, we were kind of uptrending in this channel, grinding higher. But since this double bottom formed here, looking at the 4-hour, look how sideways we kind of we're grinding higher in this channel, and now we've kind of flattened out even more to, I would say, even just going sideways. If I mark this from like here to like that wick there, just look at that as like kind of the upper end of that zone. And sorry, let me fix this transparency here. So if you, the upside or the supply side to the higher is probably less clean than this kind of clean lows that we see. But you can just see this range at the top of that, and then above this 59.50 level. And we're pretty much right dead smack in the middle. I didn't draw a fib on this, but let's look at a fib on this. Yeah, look at that. Right at the 50%, around 60.34 there. Pretty much exactly where we bounced and are now rejecting from slightly and consolidating. So I want to be pretty cautious this morning. One, given the news with that U.S. involvement with Iran, we're just in the wee hours following that. That occurred this weekend. So expect significant escalations from that. And two, from a technical perspective, we are opening right square in the middle of this range on a Monday morning. So I definitely want to be very patient and cautious. When I see a very clear, even on a higher time frame balance range like this, where we're clearly rejecting the highs and clearly bouncing the lows, I tend to be more defensive and cautious about entering trades in the middle, just because it can really lack quality and direction. You can get stopped out on a lot of little losses, just oscillating price in the middle of the range. So I'd rather wait, even if it means taking no trades today. I'd rather wait for something quality to set up near the the low or the high of that range to see if we either break out of that range, or if we fail to break out of the range and recapture in the range, something like that, or just bounce or reject at the high or low of that range. But in my opinion, the way I trade, it's generally lower quality to get involved in a trade right in the middle of the range. But this is a higher time frame range, so we could easily kind of trend higher or lower within this until we test one of those extremes. But it's just important to be aware of, just context wise, where we're at in the market. So I'm actually going to mark this. I don't know if I marked this on my regular trading chart. Let me pull up my levels that I'm watching here for the intraday. I don't have that marked, but I'm going to actually mark that because it's like so cleanly right at that 50%, which I think was 60.35. Let me pull this up here again. Could do it to this low here. 29.30. I'll just mark it here. It's not an exact science. Oops, wrong drawing. It's not an exact science. Like, I don't trade based on this level. As far as executing a trade, I'm just going to watch price action and order flow around here. So I'm going to mark that and just watch that area. But we could call it pretty much everywhere right around 60.30 to 60.35 is pretty much the 50%, like right in the middle of this range that we've been in, which is also pretty middle of that channel as well. So we had that higher time frame channel that I've been talking about and watching, and then on top of that we have kind of this sideways consolidation, you could call it, that we can see on the 4 hour that I was talking about, looking at this drawing set between this daily double bottom around 59.50 up to this range around 60.50 to 60.70, 60.80. So that supply range up there, where sellers have clearly rejected every time, and then kind of above this double bottom. We could call it this whole range down here, really from where this double bottom formed up to where, it's bouncing from around there. I'm just going to mark this so you guys are clear about what I'm talking about here. So we can clearly see like this area, the highs, or this area, the lows where price has been bouncing, and this area, the highs where price has been rejecting, really since this formed here, and also within the middle of this higher time frame wedge / channel that I've been talking about. So multiple technical reasons to kind of watch out for the middle of this range here. So any questions on the higher time frame stuff that I just kind of walked through here before I start dropping down into more of my daily plans? Good morning, Sean. Welcome. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, drop any questions if you guys have in the chat. If I don't get to it immediately while I'm going through this, then I'll circle back when I pause for a moment like this. Good morning, Jose. Yeah, I think this is a pretty clear like context and location as far as like where we're at on a higher time frame. Not clear as in there's a clear good trade setup, but just clear as we've got this channel going on and we've got this sideways range, balance range between that high and low. So I would say we have a pretty clear idea of where we're at in the market, and we're right in the middle where we want to kind of be cautious, in my opinion. My chart on top stack is unadjusted for the rollover. It looks a little different with my levels. Is that a problem? It's not a problem. I would just add the difference if you're watching. I should have prefaced that because we just rolled over to the new ES contract. And so there is a gap. I can change this to show you what it would look like if you guys do not adjust for contract changes. So I use this setting on Thinkorswim to adjust for contract changes. It just keeps it's just the way I'm accustomed to doing technical analysis, and it tends to work well for me. I know people have ways of doing it either way, and you either adjust your levels accordingly, or you do what I do, and you just kind of roll with the continuous contract and adjust for contract changes. But yeah, we can, see. Let's see. I don't know if that changed the look a whole lot. 6109 at the high there. Turn this back on. Oh. I don't know why that's not adjusting, to be honest. But either way, yeah, if yours don't adjust, I'm sure there's probably a setting on Top Step X. I'm not familiar with that platform, but if you want it to look like this and just have a continuous contract where it adjusts old price to match the current contract, as far as that gap difference, I'm sure there's a setting for it. I would just Google it. So I'm going to get rid of these kind of supply and demand zones, I guess you could call it. Not really a supply and demand zone, but really just kind of the high and low zone. I just wanted to put this up here for a few minutes so you guys could clearly see like the areas that I'm talking about. But it's just a bit too messy on the chart. So I'm just going to get rid of this. All right, so dropping into the lower time frames now, the 1 hour. We can clearly see again where I was talking about this kind of sideways range. Since this double bottom formed here, we did break the highs again and reject back lower, and kind of made lower highs then back as we kind of went to the bottom of this range again. And now we've hit the bottom of that range above that double bottom, and now back to the middle, back to that 50% area around 60.35. Pull up my other levels now that we're watching this. So yeah, just further confirmation here. We can see on the 1 hour time frame that same range, same action right in the middle. Just seeing it a little bit lower time frame here. Now, another thing that I am kind of loosely watching is this trend line where we made these higher or lower highs and lower lows as we went down to the bottom of this. This is also now right around testing this trend line, and also right around that 50% area. So if we do show some strength above this and we break back above that 50%, and on pullbacks we see a lot of absorption and buying, that is something that I would be watching to long, just because we already gapped down here. It did not sustain. We have made kind of bull flags overnight on this drive higher, and kind of every sharp, quick pullback has failed to sustain and gotten bought and driven higher. So if that continues and we do break out above this 50%, above this trend line where we made lower highs until we tested the bottom of that range, where that double bottom is, where that channel trend line is, that is kind of the shift in structure that I was watching for at the bottom of the range to go back and test the high of the range, the high of that channel. So if I see us get back above this 60.33s, we're like hugging that trend line right at this moment around 60.28, 60.27. If we break out above here, pull back and hold, and I see a lot of strength from buyers here, then I may be open to taking that long and just targeting maybe these pre-market highs around 60.40 into this key level I have marked here around 60.50. This was a key level that I saw some interesting order flow around. We can clearly see how price pivoted around it on prior days here. And then after we broke below it, it rejected. We did quickly wick above this last, what was this, Friday, and then rejected back lower. And you can clearly see like right at that 60.50 level, once we failed there, it dropped back. So it's not really a supply level. It's not really a demand level. It's not really a support or resistance level. It's just kind of a key pivot point, and I've seen a lot of interesting order flow activity around it. So that's why I'm watching that 60.50 level. And I would more so be using that probably as a target if I see a lot of strength from buyers here, especially in the first hour after the market opens and we bounce up there. The second long scenario that I'm watching for is if we don't break out up there right away and we dip back into these key levels down here near the low of this trend line. I'll be also watching to see if buyers react down here, probably just targeting a bounce back towards the middle or the next key level above. So if we take out around the 6,000 level and buyers support this and I see confirmations on the order flow, I may take that long and just target a bounce back to the middle, back to the opening range or back to this trend line. If we dip under here all the way down to the lows of this where we gap down and got bought overnight, especially around the gap level that I have marked there at 59.90 and this trend line here around 59.87. If buyers support there and kind of take out this swing low here that we see on the 1 hour and then bounce, I may be interested in taking that long, and at that point maybe just targeting 6,000. Or if it's really strong on the break above, back up here to 612 and then back into that trend line. Now, on the flip side, to the short side, these could also be targets if we do reject up here and we now print another lower high after this quick wicks above that trend line. If we see pops this morning and sellers continue to absorb that and we see a lot of weak buying and sellers failing, then that may be something to short and use the exact same stuff that I talked about down here on the long side as targets for shorts. So those are pretty much the key areas that I'm watching this morning, key levels, key areas, game plan. And again, keeping in mind that we want to see really good A+ confirmations and setups here. Otherwise, it may be better to sit out this morning and kind of let this develop, being that one, there's a lot of uncertainty right at the moment around this news. And two, we also have PMI, PMI news? Yeah, PMI news at 9:45 a.m. this morning. And we also are right in the middle of both this higher time frame wedge channel that I've been talking about, and two, right in the middle of this kind of sideways range that I've been talking about over the last, so many weeks, maybe the last, since the beginning of the month, around 6.5. We kind of topped the end of that higher high structure and then shifted to making lower highs back to the bottom of that range and now bounced back to the middle. So that's kind of the reason that I've been talking about that, is because we can clearly see we hit the top of that channel, rejected twice, and then we kind of shifted from making higher highs on this grind higher to making higher lows back to the bottom of this range. Yeah, Jose, KL is just shorthand on my charts for key level. All right, so market just opened and a lot of selling is hitting the tape here right off the get-go. I'm going to switch my charts over now to Bookmap so we can watch that together here. But this is a bit of weakness here, testing this key level like almost to the tick, that trend line that I was talking about, and also under that 50% area. And we're immediately selling sharply on the open here. All right. Can you guys see Bookmap? Yeah, somebody asked if there's a website that I check market related news. It's just the Bloomberg economic calendar. You can Google it, but just bloomberg.com/market/economic calendar. And I filter just high impact news. So a lot of pretty aggressive selling here right off the rip. All right, for those of you on Instagram, I recommend hopping over on YouTube to stay on the stream. I'm going to end the stream on YouTube, or sorry, not on YouTube. I'm going to end the stream on Instagram. So if you'd like to stay on the stream, the link to YouTube is in my story and on my bio on Instagram. So please hop over here and join in if you'd like to see my screens and stay on the live stream for the trading session this morning. Peace out on Instagram. All right, so remember we have that PMI news coming at 9:45. Need to be a little cautious, a little defensive here in the first few minutes on a Monday morning, especially right ahead of news, right in the middle of the range. But good amount of selling here right off the get-go. Selling got a little bit weaker here. Buyers are stepping in right around 60.15. Let me know in the chat if anybody has any questions about anything that I covered in the pre-market as we watch this and let this develop here. I'll try to answer. Some interesting activity here. You can see that absorption indicator triggering here right around 60.12. Do my best here to keep this in the middle of the screen for you guys as well. If I just do that, the automatic, it's not so great at keeping it like right in the middle of the screen share. So playing with the view here to keep it in a good fixed spot. So about a 267 lot selling negative delta hit the lows here. 257 lot at 6,011. So let's watch that. Kind of wicked right under prior swing low on the 2-minute chart from the pre-market right there at that spot. I do like this bit of absorption here on that drop, and then quick little buying held this pullback, but it's too late to get in it now. That happened right at 9:30. But that was nice little absorption pullback that I called out, that interesting activity. We did a little bounce above that and pulled back and held. That was nice. Nice little long scalp setup to target the opening range right there, the opening price right around 60, 20, 25. This would have been in around 13, 14, probably a stop under 11. So around a 3-point risk for about 12 to 15 points now. Would have been a nice little long scalp setup there. So as fast as that buying dropped this little quick drop more, buyers have bounced it right back up and now above the opening price here around 60.24. So quick little drop, short squeeze. But that's very normal. We're right in the middle of this higher time frame range like I talked about. And so if you're trying to catch a trending direction here, you know, jumped in short on this pull for a trending lower move or higher move, you got taken out right in the middle of this range. But the fact that sellers got trapped there right off the open is interesting to watch for context purposes. Now we're coming back into that 60-30 to 60-35, 50% level that I mentioned to watch. We're right back at it after a failed sharp drop right off the open, trapped some sellers. So interesting context to note right there. It continues to surprise how resiliently dips have been bought recently on the indices. And that has stayed true even despite this war news with Iran breaking out. It has been difficult to short this market for very long this year. Five minutes till PMI news. Keep that in mind. This would, given that news can possibly accelerate price, if we did catch this setup down here, that would have been a nice opportunity to scale out probably 9% and maybe leave a runner to see if we get a nice continuation higher on news. But don't want to enter it now, and we have news in 4 minutes. So yeah, it's been a tough year to try to trade shorts for me, for sure. I would say majority of my success has been the bottom reversals and long setups. It's been a tough year to try to catch a short for long. And if I do trade a short now, it's pretty much always just a quick scalp and not holding it for a very long period of time. Just watching this develop here. We immediately shot back up super quick, right back into that 60-30, 60-35 key area around that 50% of this range. Yeah, so unless you caught it right down here at the bottom, in my opinion, there's just been no opportunity. It just squeezed straight back up there by the highs, and now we're just 3 minutes away from PMI news. Nice, Victor. Hey, nothing wrong with that. A very quick 11 points this morning. I would have covered here as well before this news. At least covered like 90% of the trade if I caught this bottom here after we saw this absorption and bounce. I saw it. It's just didn't want to jump in front of that selling, right kind of in the middle of the range, right at the first couple minutes on a Monday morning before PMI news. Just kind of wanted to let this develop a little bit more. But it was if I was a little bit more trigger active, then this would have been something I would have looked to shake long right here around 60-13, 60-14. Yeah, great trade, Victor. Hey, can you tell if resting orders on the order book changes anything for you? Like, since we still have resting orders under the lows, would you target that? Maybe. I don't pay a ton of attention to resting orders. Potentially as a target, yeah. Other highs and lows. Is there any difference between absorption and reversal? I'm not sure what you're asking. I do look for absorption around reversals. You can see the tape getting thin here, all these orders pulled. There's the news. I typically look for absorption to precede a reversal setup. So looks like Trump has made some statements this morning about keeping oil prices down. I'm sure they're going to be pressing for more U.S. oil production to counter potential oil shortages coming from the Middle East, with Iran potentially closing that channel that they control. Wouldn't you have been a first buyer in this situation? Which situation? We've been making higher lows and moving higher all night. So if I wouldn't consider longing a pullback off the open being a first buyer because it's been moving higher all night after the gap down. Been making higher lows, and we made another higher low on that pullback after the open. So pretty muted reaction here so far from PMI news, and slightly higher than expected. Slightly higher than expected, but lower than previous. I don't know. I don't try to interpret the news too much. I just see how the market interprets it with price action. But we're squeezing higher now, continuing to squeeze higher, right at that 60, 30 to 35 area that I was watching for. So we'll see how this develops, if we can kind of develop a key thing here to take it long. Specifically, I would need to see a bit of a pullback first. It's just, I'm just looking at my footprint chart right now, and it's just continued to squeeze higher. We haven't made any little dip on the 5-point range bars. So it's tough to chase up here. But if I see something develop, specifically a pullback that holds, I'm interested in taking that long and target the overnight highs, break out above 60.40 into 60.50. But if we go take out the overnight highs already above 60.40 and fail back down here, then it doesn't look as good for me. It's just squeezing straight up, man. I wouldn't necessarily always look for a sweep of the pre-market lows. It depends on the situation. The situation now is we gap down and we've traded significantly higher and held higher lows. So it's not a situation where I would be looking for a sweep of the overnight lows before getting in long. If we consolidated sideways overnight, then yes. If that makes sense. So context matters. We gapped down, and then we've pretty aggressively traded higher all night, making bull flag structure down, from 59.60 all the way up to 60.40. So like 80 points higher. So I'm not looking for an 80-point drop under the pre-market lows or under the overnight lows. Or even because of that structure, I wouldn't even be looking necessarily for a break under 6,000 first. I think what kept me out of this long setup here is just the first heavy selling right on the first few minutes of the market open on a Monday, and we have news coming out just a few minutes later. So I avoid this, but it would have been maybe the up of the day. We'll see if anything else develops. Yeah, I'm watching for a pullback because, like I said, I was watching that 60.30 to 60.35 area. I'm watching for a pullback to take a long setup if I develop nicely. But I don't want to chase at the highs. And if we go take out the overnight pre-market highs around 60.40 and then reject much lower on strong selling, then I may not be looking to take that long either. Because once I see the pre-market highs around 60.40 break out, ideally I'm already positioned in a long ahead of that, and then I want to see that hold and continue up towards that 60.50 level. And then really all the way up, I've got the next key level above that I really am watching is around 60.60 and 60.72. So we got a little bit of a pullback there to 60.33. Just didn't really see enough for me to get in it. I mean, I could have got in around 60.34, and then my risk would have been down here under 29. So it's like 4.5 points of risk. Not the best for targeting just 60.40 into possibly 60.50 and above if we can break out. From a risk versus reward perspective in the middle of the range on a higher time frame, I just didn't want to get in here. And again, I also really don't want to be entering at the highs because from a risk versus reward perspective, really vulnerable to any news coming out around this Iran, Israel, and now US involvement could significantly drop price lower. Yeah, there's some news that I think real estate news, what is it, at 10? I don't have a ton of emphasis on that, but yeah, existing home sales. I think that could become a hotter topic recently because the housing market has been flipping more and more. Inventory is sitting longer and longer, and it's seems to be a growing problem. So we have that news at 10 a.m., but it's not something I always really watch for trading ES. Continuing to squeeze higher though. Now we're taking out that 60.40 that I talked about. So if we see a significant drop back from here, if we see a subtle pullback, around 60.30 to 60.32, but if we pull back from here at this point under the 30s, then I'm going to be more cautious to get in that long, since we are already taking out the overnight highs around 60.40. But just zooming out, looking at this, like very, very little opportunity to get aboard this ever since that drop in the first few minutes off the open. If you didn't get in there, pretty much straight up squeeze. Because it's like, if you get in anywhere around here, you just gotta bet and hope it just continues to go straight up, which is a little tough to do because, I mean, from a risk versus reward perspective, where are you getting in? This was the best setup of the day. When I spotted that absorption there, we bounced and pulled back. Right there would have been the greatest setup, and I didn't jump in it. Just like I already explained earlier, first minutes of the morning session before news, it just was a little trick, if I'm being honest, down there. Didn't get in it, and then we just squeezed straight up, and we've not pulled back even hard, not even like 5 points, 60.32 to 28. Like we haven't had more than like a 4-point pullback. So we've shot up now from the lows on the open at 60.10 to 60.40. We've gone up over 30 points now without so much as a 4-point pullback. So the reason I get more hesitant to get involved is we just haven't built in pullbacks and supported price on this move. It's just squeezed straight higher, and it just kind of leaves vulnerable to a domino effect back down if sellers reload up here. because sellers have not really gotten factored in along this move. So if we hit a resistance level like this 60-40 overnight highs into those key levels above from Friday, and sellers do absorb and come in strong, like I said, it can lead to that elevator down domino effect. So just from a risk versus reward perspective, I don't really like getting involved up there at the highs. When would sellers be considered to have control? If we're failing to break above key levels and then we flip to making lower highs, just basic technical analysis 101, I guess you could say, when the trend line shifts down and we're making lower highs, lower lows. On the order flow, you see buying get weak above key levels or at the highs, leaving lower volume, and stronger, heavier volume coming in on the sell side. It's tempting to try and maybe look to short this up here around 60-40 if we fail to break out above this at these market highs. But I just, that would almost be a little bit revengeful because I missed the earlier longs and we've just grind straight up. From a context perspective, it just doesn't, I don't think, really look high quality to do that. So it's tempting to want to short this, just seeing some absorb at these highs, but not an A+ setup in my book, even though it might work out well. But we'll watch it and see. Almost the first 30 minutes in here. Literally the first 4 minutes of the open moved lower. And since then, the subsequent 25 minutes, we've moved pretty much straight up without so much as a 3 or 4 point pullback. So not ideal to try to fade that right at this moment. Now, if we go up and we start going sideways for a good period of time and we start seeing a lot of absorption, that could be different. But right now, not trying to fade this. Not trying to fade this, not trying to chase this. So just watching. Boom. Squeezing up now. So we definitely are firmly above that 60-40s now, 60-30, 35, up into those 60-40s, and we're quickly squeezing up into that 60-50 key level. Possibly that was on news. US and India are trying to finalize a trade deal by July 9th. So I think that was that little surge right there. That news was 1 minute ago. Surge of news. Oh yeah, the homes for sale news. Yeah, I forgot about that. 10 a.m. on that little surge there. That's what that was. You're right. And at the same time, kind of that news surfaced about possible finalization of interim trade news between India and the US. and also that pending home sales news, existing home sales news. Better than expected, surprisingly. Not for houses that I've been seeing. It just seems like everything is sitting on the market everywhere. I'm curious what you guys are tracking. Any other events this week that you are watching out for? Any setups that you guys are watching for? Let me know. Interest rates are, yeah, currently not good. Jay Powell speaking twice this week. Looking ahead at the economic calendar here. Yep, Powell on Wednesday speaking at 10 a.m. GDP news on Thursday. That should be a heavy hitter. Friday, inflation expectations, consumer sentiment. Yeah, Thursday and Friday look spicy. Wednesday a little bit with JP speaking. And tomorrow also speaking at 10 a.m. So the next 2 days, Powell speaking, and then Thursday and Friday look a little spicy with the news. So should be an interesting week, hopefully. So 15-minute chart looks just straight up this morning. We have a lower wick right off the open, and then just continuing straight up. So if you weren't willing to jump in long in the first 4 minutes on that dip, then we've traded straight up since then. All right, so we're coming up to that 60-50 level. See how this develops up here. Just kind of zoom out a little bit here. What a straight up rocket. Since that dip in the first 3 or 4 minutes, just, I'm not even moving the chart left, just an absolute straight up shot. We are now up like over 40 points without so much as a 3 or 4 point pullback. I think we've gotten maybe a 4 point pullback, but just looking at my footprint chart, which is a 5 point range, have not made a single like lower test below the previous bar. It's just been straight up squeezed on the 5 point range bars. Well, might not be a whole lot to do this morning, guys. You know, I'd love to be a part of the longs here. You know, this was my plan, was to look for strength here at the 60-30s, 60-35s, targeting, you know, into these 60-50s, but just didn't see great confirmations, great pullback to get in a part of it. And we've just gone straight up there. So very important to protect capital and look for some great setups, not just jump involved because you want to make money. Just even though, this is the direction and plan I was looking for, just didn't get a setup and a pullback and a confirmation thing to get involved with it since that quick drop at 9:34 a.m. So don't need to put capital at unnecessary risk up here for a low quality setup. Low quality on the long side, just in terms of risk versus reward, since we've already moved up here so much without a pullback, and low quality on the short side, just because, fading such a strong directional move up. Need to see like good quality setup, both in terms of risk versus reward and direction. But at a future point, this could set up for a strong drop down if some bad news comes out. FOMC member Bowman speaking. He's put out a statement saying tariffs are likely to have a small impact on inflation, which is helping fuel this. Progress on trade deals has lowered uncertainty over the outlook. It's kind of the opposite of what I've heard other people say recently. Again, though, I don't care or try to interpret the news, I'm just aware of what's going on with it so I can protect myself in my trades. All right, so now we've kind of gone sideways, and for the first time today so far, we dipped, or kind of dipping a little bit of a lower low. So right here at this 60, on the break above this 60-50 level, is the first time we're seeing a little bit of decent resistance from sellers. Buyers getting smaller up here. Just so this is what I'm talking about. See how the buying bubbles on the break above 60-50 got smaller up here, and then on the pullback, selling has increased. Size of the selling bubbles has increased. So let's watch out for that. This could easily be absorbed from passive buyers and we continue moving higher. But just be aware, like this is the first time today so far I'm seeing this pattern where buying is decreasing above this key level at 60-50 and selling is increasing on the pullback to it. So watch out for that. So a couple things, if we get a really sharp, aggressive drop lower, we could see if there's large absorption that hits it, and it's another good buying opportunity for the first time today. Or if we start breaking back down and go back towards the lows now. But decent selling here between 60.50 and 60.53. So around here, 60.50 to 60.53. Important to watch this. See how this develops. I may like this for a quick little rejection lower. But to the downside, I don't know what I would target. Maybe a retest of the 60.30s, 60.35. It's kind of stalling here. See how this develops here. Not really seeing a lot. Well, let's wait right here. It's going to say not seeing a ton of excitement from sellers to jump in this on this bounce back up here. But let's see. There is a 440 lot negative delta that just popped up. I'm seeing now at 60.51. I may take a stab here. Yeah. Yeah, it just can't pull back. See what happens here. It's kind of going sideways for the first time, but just not really much significance. Squeezing out the highs again. I was hoping we'd get a little bit more of a pullback down towards the 60-40s into 60-30s, but still not a single red 15-minute. Nope, just continuing straight up. I was hoping after this bit of selling came in, we were going to get a bit more of a pullback. Just did not. Just a quick little pullback there. Did not get down towards even this prior little dip and bounce here around 60.37 to 43. Like that would have been at least, give us a pullback into here where this larger buying was. We pulled back to 46, just squeezed right back higher again. So just waiting. Tried that short, might be the only trade today. Yeah, it's tough to catch a short at the highs up here in this context. At this point, the next thing I'm really seeing, is not until 60-60 to 60-70, Friday's opening kind of rally and drop area. Just looking at the 15-minute. On Friday, we had that little rally and drop off the open around 60-60 to 60-70. But man, surprising to see like little to no weakness at all after the news that came out over the weekend. I don't see much until we were almost just a couple points away from that 60-60 to 60-72 area. But again, that was just a better target for longs if we had gotten a pullback. Not as great, in my opinion, right now for shorts, although it could work. Starting to see a lot of positive delta up here at this high. 200 lots, 200 lots, 200 lots, which is interesting on my footprint chart. It's interesting to break the high and see a lot of positive delta building up and then not continuing higher. We broke that high at 55, just a couple points under 60. And on this buying here, looking at the footprint chart, we had 215 lots at 60.54, 239 lots at 60.55, 235 lots at 60.57. It's a lot of positive delta lots popping up, but pulling back and not driving price higher on that. So that's interesting to watch here. Obviously, if we just continue to squeeze up right now, that would invalidate anything, but interesting right there. Starting to see some interesting action here a little bit. See what happens. Yeah, it's interesting here on the little weak pop here. A lot of positive delta as we broke the high there. I may take a stab at this here. Right. Yeah. 60.54 breaks. I don't love the context of this up here, but if this can reject from a risk versus reward perspective, if we reject under this 60-60 level from Friday, just, probably just targeting a break back into the 40s just for a quick short scalp. Just as there's been very little pullbacks, kind of setting up here for a quick sharp drop. A lot of positive delta on the break of that high that didn't move price higher. May take a stab there at 54. Probably stopping just above 60.57, which is the kind of the top of that positive delta. Oh, my bookmap screen went away. Sorry. Okay, let me stop sharing and reshare it. I just got in short, guys, at 60.50, just above 60.54 with a stop over 57. So like 2.5 points risk up there, and just targeting a break back into the under 45, into the 40s maybe on a quick sharp drop. I don't want to see this revisit my entry after we drop pretty aggressively here, just because shorts either work fast or they don't work in my experience. So let me stop sharing my screen and pull it back up now. Sorry, I'm trying to manage this trade at the same time. How annoying, YouTube. I don't like that really sharp buying right there. Want to see this break back under 50 to confirm this setup. Want to see a stronger quick break under 50 to confirm this setup. Otherwise, if this sharp buying continues, I'll just get out break even. I don't like the little tiny dip under 50 and then quickly bought higher. I want to see that break under 50 now to confirm that, because my thesis for this trade was a failed break above 50 to 55 area to reject under that 60 level from Friday's opening range. And I see trapped buying up here at the highs. So that's confirmation 1, which I got in on. Confirmation 2 is a strong break back under 60.50. So if we fail to break under 60.50 and we bounce, I'm not going to bag hold that into a squeeze of the highs again. I want to see a lot of quick, strong selling come in to drive this lower. And again, just all year and everything, my experience with shorts has been they either work fast or they don't work. In fact, if we can't break this pretty aggressively and quickly, I may cover half for a quick 6 points here. But I'm still holding right now. I just don't like how we're just briefly peaking under that 60.50 level and then just popping quickly back over it. I want to see it sharply and like affirmatively break under aggressively and fail to recapture above it. I don't want these little tiny peaks under 60.50 and then immediately bouncing back up. If buyers are trapped at this high and sellers want to come in hot, then do the damn thing and reject lower quickly. Otherwise, if buyers do not get trapped, then anybody that tried to sell this little pullback is going to get squeezed back to the highs again. See, this is the potentially trapped buyers and then aggressive selling coming in. You know, getting in short here, want to see a quick and aggressive break back under 50. And so far, we're not having it. And I'm not going to bag hold this back above the highs now. So it's a balance between being patient and seeing what you need to see to continue to hold the trade or not. But right now, I don't like the quick little dips under 50 and then stronger buying coming in. Like I said, I wanted to see a firm break under 50 to hold that. I mean, we could call this a top reversal in supply if you want to call it the 15-minute opening range from Friday a supply level. But like I said, I'm trying to see sellers come in strong here, especially because we're so one-sided in the order book. It should be quickly dropping, and if it doesn't, then I'm gonna close this for break even because we may want to squeeze out highs again. Just the way I'm reading this, if we have this point at this key level where buyers are trapped at the highs and we pull back aggressively, I want to see that drop pretty fast and put all those buyers in pain on a sharp pullback. And if we don't, then sellers are going to be the ones that get in pain here, and it's going to continue squeezing higher. So it's kind of a delicate balance between being patient and being defensive. And unfortunately, though, this could come and sweep me out if it doesn't take out the highs and then trade lower without me, which would be annoying, and that's a strong possibility. Need to break under 50 now to hold this. Can see kind of it reacting to here, larger order, kind of bottom and bounce here, some larger orders popping up here. So need to see a swift break under 50 here. And again, probably just targeting 45 to 40 area. Just a modest pullback. I'm not trying to catch the high of the day for the drop. All right, here we go. We're dipping under 50 for the third time here. Do not want to see this get bought. See 1, 2, 3. But again, I like how we're dropping into it on increased selling here. So you can see the size of the bubbles. If we can't break under that with increased selling, then there's too much passive buying still going on. If there was a point so far at any time today where sellers need to jump in, this is their opportunity. So that's why I'm in. You know, this is this is the best opportunity sellers have had to at least drive things lower a little bit for a pullback. So I'm giving it the chance here. And the risk versus reward is good. Like I said, only risking like was initially risking like 2.5 points. I'm break even now, potentially targeting, 10 to 15 points. So I would say it's probably B quality just because of the context. We've traded higher, but the confirmations and risk versus reward were A quality. So if we can, yeah, let's see here. Sellers are coming in under 50 now. We're in the 47th with larger selling here. So we're giving it a chance. And I'm just looking if we can just drop a little more into 45s first. Just a little more for a 10-pointer. I'm up like 7 points now. 7, 8 points. There's no way I let this go red. And I'll scale out here in just a second on a quick drop. Oh, come on, man. Sellers might not have the juice, guys. There's just not driving price lower under 50 here. I wanted to see this accelerate, drop down under 50, and it's just stalling again. Yeah, volatility and momentum. I wanted to see it increase on a swift drop under 60.50, and it's just going so flat. I got a good entry, which is allowing me to just let it breathe and stay patient here, but dang, how annoying. See what happens here. Yeah, I don't like that. Do not want to see this recapture 60.50. I don't like how selling is getting smaller here. Had a chance to break under 50 here with some momentum, and it kind of died out. I don't really like that. I'm still staying patient, but like I said, the best shorts drop pretty quick. And if it initially drops and stalls and just cannot really sustain momentum on a break back under a level, it's not so great, but being patient. All right, I took half off here. I don't like it for 7 points, but I'm still holding. But 7 points on 2.5 point risk. I'm just going to take half off that and be a little more comfortable. So this is what I don't like. We had a drop under 50 with a good amount of selling. Then we had strong buying come back in. And then on this subsequent drop here, selling got weaker, which I'm just not loving. Yeah, best Tony Tiro, exactly. Best shorts drop fast, exactly. And I very cautious on short setups just because this has been tough to hold shorts this year. Like I said earlier in the stream, we had all this strong aggressive selling on the under 50, which theoretically should have, increased speed and momentum on the break under 50. And instead it just stalled sideways and selling got smaller. And now we're seeing buying stepping in. So that's why I covered half the trade there, front running my target. I cut half at 48. My initial target that I wanted to really see hit was 45. So front running the target, but watch some aggressive selling come in now. It's just kind of annoying. But now that I've covered and I've got my risk to break even, I'm a little more comfortable just sitting here and letting this ride. But again, like all of this selling building here, I really wanted to see a swift and dramatic kind of drop back under 650. You want to see the stair step up and an elevator down on a good short setup, and we're seeing kind of a stair step down that's getting slower on the drop under 60.50 when we wanted to see it get faster on the drop under 60.50, or I wanted to, for how I like to see a short setup. And if we recapture now above 60.50 and bounce, then I for sure do not want to be in this. So I'm going to take it off for break even or before. Yeah. But man, this is so important to have a good entry with good order flow confirmations. Because imagine you see the structure shifting, and then you chase a short down here on the break back under 50. Like, how many times are you gonna get squeezed out or sitting uncomfortable? Like, reading this on the order flow, I was able to get in, up here at above 60.54. I'm in at 60.54.75. So basically 60.55, way up here. And that has allowed me to already take half off when I'm seeing this red flags for basically 3R, because my stop loss was above 57 and I'm in at, so only less than 2.5 points of risk, scaled out for like almost 7 points. And now I can sit a little bit more comfortably to see if we want to get an aggressive drop down, which could be high R trade if we did that aggressive drop down that I wanted to see down here to 40s. Under 45, which is here, down into 40, which is that key level where we saw this here. Just get a fast, aggressive drop down here under 45 into 40, that area. Then that's a potentially 5+ R trade. Staying patient, guys. Staying patient. But maybe this is my weakness, but when I see a red flag like this and I'm already up 2 or 3R on a trade, it makes me feel more comfortable to take half off and hold. And then maybe I'm able to hold this for a little bit bigger win now on the second half because I'm a little bit more at ease, not giving everything back after that. All right, so this is our fourth decent size dip under 60.50 now. And again, selling volume is increasing here. So you just want to see this go take out these lows under 45 now. Yeah, if we do get that sharp little pullback now, because it is an uptrending day so far, totally valid to actually look for a long in a key area on a sharp pullback, which I could totally flip this trade around long. Like I said, this is a counter trend, quick scalp, high R multiple. We had a key level. We saw good confirmations of absorption. The only thing that made it kind of a B setup is just that it's kind of counter trend on the day. But the B setup is sometimes okay, like it is right now, just given it was a high risk versus reward opportunity. But man, can we get a drop, guys? Like, what the heck? You know, normally you see drops like this occur pretty quickly when, you know, the order book is pretty one-sided, buyers stopping out on a quick drop back. And this thing is taking its time. I really was speculating that we would see an accelerated drop under 60.50, and it's just gone into slow motion mode every time it has dipped under 60.50. Oh, you're looking for the market to go up and touch 60.60. Okay, interesting. Oh, so if the market breaks out to the upside and then pulls back, you want a long 60.60? Okay, yeah, that's cool too. It's just need a tweet full of good news. Oh, it's just the air feels heavy right now. Like with anything that comes out could trigger a pretty solid drop, especially with how one-sided the rally is this morning. It just feels sketchy, and that's why I didn't take it long at the highs. I didn't want to long a breakout. I don't know if that's just a gut feel thing or a combination of the potential news that we have going on right now. It just feels sketchy, especially trying to long the highs. Oh, okay. You want to see it retest 60.60 to take a short. Okay. To me, if we squeeze out the highs again after already shifting structure to the downside and already, you know, breaking under the 60.50, I'd be hesitant to short the highs again. It could work, and we could get a nice move off of it, but some larger selling coming in now, guys. But and this is kind of the same thing that I was seeing on these pops. I was seeing the buying starting up here. You know, we saw the buying kind of get absorbed first, and then aggressive selling coming in, and then on these little pops where I got in short, I was seeing the buying get smaller. So absorption, aggressive selling, weaker buying. That's where I took it short at the weaker buying. And then continued to see, although it's been uncomfortable, the speed of that it's occurring. we're seeing the smaller buying on the pops and the larger selling on the dips, which has made me continue to hold this. So here's the break under 60.45 now. Let's see what happens here. Now I'm watching this. I don't want to be too greedy, but since I already scaled out once, I'm kind of watching to see if it wants to drop a little bit more. If I was still in full size, I probably would have closed the whole trade right here. But I'm already padded in profit. I'm watching to see if selling stays heavy here to give it a little bit of breathing room. Otherwise, I'm going to flatten the trade. But I'm giving it a little room to breathe. It's up over 10 points, or right at 10 points. So I'm giving it a little bit of breathing room to see if it wants to accelerate with some strong selling down here. Under 60.45, going down towards that 60.40 to 60.30. Oh, some aggressive buying popping. See if it fails here. It's kind of a pivotal point here. I think there's also a bit of a low volume node here, right around 40. This is kind of the very, very top of it, 44. I wanted to see a little bit more of a drop, but we are right at that kind of low volume node area. So need to be cautious of that. See if we get one more quick little drop down, kind of fill the low end of that low volume node area around 60.40, 60.42. Here we go. Some interesting speed activity here. So I'm gonna be very cautious right now. Bit of a drop there. Let's see. Iran, our response to US attacks will be proportionate. That's an interesting statement. Proportionate. So Iran right now is threatening nuclear attacks on the US, I would say, because we attacked their nuclear facilities. So proportionate attack seems like they would try to attack our nuclear facilities. So that is not good. They can try, I guess. What happens here? But that's pretty dangerous news. So I think the hope is that they were going to cease and desist after the strikes, although kind of unlikely of the current Iranian regime, has never been one to just negotiate and cease and desist. So that will likely mean continued strong escalation. They are talking hot air. They always talk hot air, but the problem is enough hot air leads to real action. Yeah, I feel for the Iranian people. It's bad. I can only imagine. I didn't want. Yeah, it's terrible. I don't really want the U.S. involved in another war. I don't think we should be, but at the same time, I don't know. I think pretty much everyone that voted for Trump didn't want to the US involved in another war. Wanted to get out of being involved in global crises. All right. We're still dropping here. I'm still holding this, guys. Low volume node is filled, but it still looks weak. And exactly right, Blair. Good read on that. That's why I'm still sitting here. I am like finger on the flatten button because I'm watching this low volume node area. But it still looks weak and a lot of heavy selling right here. So I'm still like letting it ride, but finger on the trigger. If I saw signs of aggressive buying at this low volume node, I would have flattened, but I'm still watching it. We are seeing a lot of negative delta hit the lows right now at 300 lots, right at 42. I am looking to close this in any second. But being patient here because, you know, with Iran threatening the US, I think the US was hoping for them to just say, yeah, we'll negotiate, we'll cancel our nuclear programs now. I didn't really expect that, but I think that was the hope for the positive outcome. But it sounds like, no, we're ready to continue escalating, which is going to, you know, only mean bad things. So a lot of large selling here at this red bubble. See if this bounces, if buyers continue to want to buy this, or if we now accelerate down and drive through this again. Kind of a stiff bounce from buyers here. Yeah, if I hadn't scaled out already, I would have definitely scaled out now, but I'm being a little bit patient here to see if we want to continue to sell off on this news. If we continue to sell off on this news, we could go hit the 30s, which would be a nice drop. but we're kind of bouncing out of this low node now, so I may have just bag holded a larger winner into a smaller winner. See if hold here under 60.50 again. We kind of see a little bit of a this here. So let's watch that. Under 60.50. Retesting pre-market highs, 60.40. Yeah, I probably should have got out there at my target like I should have at 60.45 on the break under 60.45 into 60.40, which I said was my target. I got a little greedy there, wanting to see. I saw a lot of heavy selling down here, and I was speculating we would see a bigger drop with the amount of heavy selling that was coming in. Pretty sharp bounce here, though. Pretty sharp bounce here. All right. Well, not good. Not great that my further target hit and I didn't take the trade off. I really wanted to see a bigger, heavier drop there. and I really thought we would get it based on the large selling coming in down there. And now we did not, and we're bouncing, and I gave away half the profit on this trade. So we'll see what happens. We're retesting that 60-50 now. Yeah, I'm in a short from 60, 54, 75. So I shorted it. I was up about 14, 15 points. I already scaled out half for 7 points, and I was holding to want to see kind of a bigger breakdown from there. And I was targeting around 60, 40, and we got it. I was up about 14, 50 points, and I saw a lot of heavy selling coming in. I didn't get out of my trade because I saw a lot of heavy selling coming in, and I wanted to see it continue to drop more. And it bounced pretty sharply right from there, right at that low volume node, right at my target. And so it bounced sharply, and I'm still sitting in this. Now, I think part of it, I waited so long in that for a sharp, aggressive drop, and we got the sharp, aggressive drop on heavy selling, and I really thought that would continue, just based on how much it built up to that. We had a lot of consolidation and build up, and then we had that sharp drop into there. So even though that area was my target, I was like, you know what? This could turn into a lot bigger downtrend drop to reverse a lot of the selling based on the news that was coming out, based on the heavy amount of selling that was occurring down here. But in fact, it trapped the selling right down here and bounced. So if we reject on this 60-50 and sellers reload here, we could continue to go back and break that down again. But I really should have remembered that this was a short, which I like to just get out of quick and not hold it for very long. And I should have remembered that, we've been uptrending today. So trying to hold too large and too big of a move is not ideal. Yeah, it's super it's super fatiguing to sit in a trade like this. So we'll see that 60-50 level. Technically, I'm not wrong until we, break and hold above that 60-50 level. So we'll see what happens here. We're rejecting it again. That 60-50 was that key level and into 60-60. So I saw the trapped buyers up near 60-60, and then the aggressive selling under 60-50, which is what I wanted to see for kind of a larger breakdown. But damn, I haven't seen too many of these. If I pull up the 15-minute chart here, just look. I mean, we can all look at the 15-minute chart. Look how that 15-minute candle closed near the low, right at 60-40, looking really weak. And that's why I kind of sat in this. And then almost reversed the whole move back up to 60-50. It closed at the low near 60-39 on that 15-minute candle, and then just right down here instantly bounced back up. And I was like, ugh. But sellers are still defending this 60-50 which is where I was basing my analysis on the drop under that. But all right, if we can't sustain a drop under 60.50, gonna close this for a small win and a poorly managed trade. It's a win. It's a good setup. It was a good target. I tried to get a little bit too greedy on it to hold past my target based on the large selling that I was seeing. And now it's just a small one. So I make mistakes too, especially counter trend. Yeah. Yep. Like I said, it's a balance between being patient with winning trades to hold them for good wins, and also though like sticking to your plan. Looking at the 30-minute with the volume profile on the day, it looks just like a sideways block of price here from 60.40 to 60.50 over the last hour. So we're seeing a lot of buying up here, right around that 60.50. Not seeing aggressive selling, but we are seeing this quick rally back up to 60.50, slow down. So we'll see what happens right here, and see if we have a break and retest of that 60.50 for another leg lower. Watching. It's getting late in the morning now. Don't really have any other news coming out. Let's see here. Yeah, not really any other news coming out. An FOMC member speaking at 2:30, but kind of moderate. FOMC member Williams, moderate impact. Shouldn't be too crazy. Let's kind of zoom out here, look at the 4-hour chart. Very aggressive V-shaped bounce on the 4-hour after that gap down from last night. And I should have kept that in mind with this trade being counter trend. Yeah, I have taken a short from 60.54, which I scaled out for 3.5 R for 7 points. And then I'm still holding the second half of that trade on this bounce, which I was up a lot more. So we're still seeing sellers really trying to hold this 60.50 level though, which is the only reason I'm still like kind of being patient with this. Still seeing the tape slow down up here, absorption and stronger selling, trying to defend this level here. So that is why I am still holding and still watching this. But regardless, pretty mentally draining trade to sit through. I guess the only good thing is I already made 7 points on the half position, so I'm just kind of chilling. So like I'm not taking any more trades today after this. It's already a green day, and so I'm just trying to be patient and see what develops here. This is like the 5th or 6th time now we've kind of broken under that 60.50 level. We dabbled with it a bunch here. We dipped under it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. We came back up, just briefly got above it, and then rejecting back under it for like the 5th or 6th time now. So I got my orders set. Give me a second, guys. I'm going to walk away and come back in a sec. Maybe I just need to get away from the screen for a second and let the market do what it's going to do. All right, so it's dropped back lower. What's up, guys? I'm back. A lot of people left. Do you think I was just going to stay gone? So we're dropping lower again on heavy selling again. I really thought I was going to walk back and see that my trade had been taken out at my trailed stop. I literally just walked away and I was like, yeah, this is going to take me out. And I trailed my stop. I'm going to be out of this trade. But it is dropping again on heavy selling. Actually, larger selling this time than the last time we were down here. Look at this. So smaller bubbles as we dropped in here last time, bigger bubbles as we were dropping down here this time. So isn't that interesting? Let's see where this goes. That's what I'm debating right now, Blair. I'm debating on if I'm going to close this right now, just slightly front running where I was at before, or if I'm going to again continue to hold this because of the heavy selling that I'm seeing down here. I'm now facing the same decision that I was just tested with. Although it may look even better now that we bounced and failed at 60.50, and now we're coming back down here with larger selling again. So the thing that's making me hesitant again now and watching and holding is the fact that now we've rejected 60.50 again, and now we're back down here again with heavier selling. So do I take the trade off now emotionally because I just want to be out this amount that I was already up? Or do I say, price action and order flow right now is telling me to continue to hold this now? That's the dilemma. I can't tell you how badly I just want to close this trade right now, and I might do it just to walk away because I'm mentally getting tired now. I've been watching this for a couple hours. I've been on the live stream for a couple hours. I want to walk away. I want to be done. I want to close this winning trade and go away. But on the flip side, we're seeing a lot of heavy selling down here again, heavier than the last time. We already bounced and tested 60.50 and rejected that again. So what if I just continue to look at this heavy selling coming in now? What if I just continue to trail and just let the market tell me when to get out, when it reverses? Heavy drop now. Look at that heavy drop. Testing VWAP now. See what happens right here. And I want to see this bounce strongly. I want to see this break. Is there some news that came out? Explosions near Awaz, southwest Iran. So more explosions in Iran. I don't know if that's necessarily new information. It's kind of been continuous for like a week now. All right, I'm not going to bag hold this again. If we bounce, I'm going to close this. Tested VWAP on this heavier selling. Either sellers want to continue lower or not. Usually when an overwhelming amount of selling that comes in, it just really breaks lower fast. And we just did that. So I don't want to see this dip under this prior low fail here around 39.40. So if we can quickly get back under 39.40 right now and continue to sell off, then I'll hold. Otherwise, I'll close. All right. I'm out at 39 right there on that dip. So I'm not holding that again for that. When I saw this weaker selling come here now, I just closed right here around 40. Yeah, let me see my fill. Yeah, around 40. So it was up about 16 points. I don't like how we got that prior low there around 39 and quick shot again. Now this thing might go and sell off for real this time, but it's 11:30 and I scaled out for 7 points and then 16 points on a 2-point risk. Angel, $12.99 profit. You're right there with me. I only traded a couple contracts, so nice. I'll have to pull. I don't have my P&L pulled up, so I'll look at it after. Imagine going through everything that I just did to managing that trade and watching that go around and then looking at P&L during that. Be very annoying. Now we're getting a nice drop back down. It's all right. I got my piece. I'm out at my original target around 40. I just let it breathe to see if it wanted to smoke through that again. It bounced with some pretty aggressive buying again. I'm not going to sit through that again. So I gave it the chance to smoke through that, and I'm going to take it off there for 16 points. But man, I've been in that trade, guys, since freaking 10:20. So like an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah, mental cap. That was like 50% a mental capital exit. I stayed resilient and gave it the chance to just crush through that level. But once it bounced aggressively here and then came back here, back down to that 40, and I saw this small selling. Like when I saw this large selling here, I was like, all right, does this want to crush through? Let's hold it. Then it just immediately quickly bounced again, and the small selling popping in here, closed here for 16 points, and done. Been on the live stream for 2.5 hours, been in that trade for like an hour and 15 minutes with on a short setup. Like really, you want to see a short setup play out pretty relatively quick. So sitting through a short setup counter trend for over an hour was pretty painful mentally. So we're getting some nice heavy selling now. So maybe this thing will continue to smoke now that I'm finally out. But it was a 2-point risk, scaled out for around 15 points and 7 points. So what is that? Like around 12 points average out on a 2-point risk. So I'm just roughly mental math in here, around 6R trade. I'll pull it into TradeZella and evaluate. All right, I'll do a quick recap and then I'm going to go get away from the screens and maybe hit some golf balls or something. Hope you guys got some value out of that. Probably painful in the middle today, sitting through that, watching it together. And sometimes trading is just mentally exhausting and boring, and you're just kind of waiting for things to play out. That's all you can do. But at the end of the day, made over $1,000, and it's only 11:30 a.m. and now I'm going to go do something else with my time. So All right, guys. Thank you for everyone being here. Any last questions? Very, very valued lesson. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, if you guys appreciate me doing this, I appreciate if you just like and share. That's all I ask. I appreciate it. I'm gonna be back every day this week. Let's start the week off on the right foot. Not a crazy home run, but damn it, I sure gave it my best chance to be a nice sizable winner. But still over 10 points on a 2-point risk is a good day. um, Hopefully some of you guys were able to use that analysis to help you in your trading and make money. Somebody just said they made like $1,300. That's awesome. So, all right, I'll maybe make a quick recap and then post it so you guys can see just a quick recap on Instagram and stuff like that of the trade. But you watch it in real time, my analysis and thought process. Got a little shaky there in the middle of the management of that trade, but we survived it. Could be a different story right now. If I got stopped out for break even, I would have been really mentally drained. But we made the money on it, and we kind of followed the plan. Got a little greedy and held for a bigger breakdown. Ended up getting it, but still not as much. But it's all good. It's all good. Rinse and repeat. We'll come back tomorrow and keep going. All right. Thanks everybody for being here. I'm going to end it there. See you tomorrow.